drug-induced milk from transgender women who were born male is meant to be as good for babies as mother's breast milk. Now, this is according to University Hospital Sussex NHS Trust.
Well, I'm going to leave Bev to the expert here, but this is... I'm just going to make one contribution here. These people do not do the trans cause any good whatsoever. I'm sure most trans people want to get on quietly with their lives, and having these idiotic people making these claims just sets their cause back, and I regret it in that point of view.
So this is trans feminine induced lactation, and joining us now is lactation consultant Dymond Tucker, who knows all about the pros and cons of breastfeeding. Hello, Chloe. So nice to see you. Now, first of all, if we can just start simply on why it is good for, briefly, mums and babies to be able to breastfeed.
I mean, the benefits of breastfeeding are just absolutely endless, and breast milk is just incredible in terms of, it's... at the end of the day, it can do all sorts of incredible things. It's full of every single type of nutrient a baby needs. It adapts with the age of the baby. So, from the start, when the babies are first born, the colostrum is exactly what the baby needs. And it's not just the nutrition. It's also, the benefits of immunity, the microbiome is passed on to the baby. It's it's got everything that it needs. And if a mum has a baby prematurely, then the milk is designed so that that baby will be as healthy as possible. And it can really protect that baby against, problems and diseases and things like that.
Yeah.
So, I think the benefits of breast milk go beyond. Yes.
That's right. And it's not easy, and women need a lot of support, I think, to breastfeed, and often they're sent home from hospital with no support, sadly, these days. So you might say, well, that's in the case, then, of a trans woman, maybe helping them to carry out this procedure would be good for them and their baby. But this isn't naturally produced breast milk, Chloe. So how are the men, the people who are born male and transition into being women, how are they able to breastfeed?
So, the process for actually inducing breast milk does involve lots of hormones, lots of medication, which has to be taken over a really long period of time in order to stimulate milk. And I think there's little research at the moment to actually be able to say exactly how nutritive that milk is. And I think, that period of time when babies are just fed on milk, especially in the first 6 months of life, nutrition is really vitally important in order to make sure that that baby is healthy. And that goes, beyond just them being a baby, but for the rest of their lives. So, I think... And also the quantity of milk that can be produced, by this artificial stimulation is, rarely enough to actually be able to nourish the baby properly.
So if the new mother is having a combination of estrogen, progesterone, something called galactagogues. These are words you may not be familiar with, Andrew Pierce. Galactagogues, which are... there's one called domperidone, not domperignon, that's slightly different. Domperidone is the drug that you can... But that women-born mothers also will sometimes be given domperidone in order to increase milk supply. But what the male-born mothers are producing, Chloe, is what? Is it resembling female breast milk?
The thing is, we don't really know, all of the facts at this moment in time. I think there's been a couple of case studies where they've monitored, the nutritional value of that milk. And, the results have been that it is nutritious, but, it would be crazy to think that it was anywhere near as nutritious as the milk that would be produced from the mother of, the baby, and they'd carry that baby and given birth to the baby.
So it's experimental, Chloe. It's entirely experimental at this time, and we don't have any idea about the long-term effects on the baby, and yet a lot of the literature is preoccupied by how this is good for the trans mother. It's for her mental well-being, which is put above necessarily the health needs of the baby.
Yeah, and actually, I think what's really important to to consider here is that, in fact, there are a lot of negative sides for the transgender woman who is taking all these medications, because quite often the side effects of domperidone medication over a long period of time is that it can cause insomnia, depression, anxiety, nervous system problems. So, I think these are facts that really need to be discussed and
researched.
Exactly. And I think, that's really, really vitally important, especially if you're looking after a little new baby, to then have to deal with these kind of side effects from taking something like this. I mean, I think it's incredible, that we can, that somebody who's not a biological mother can produce, a nutritive milk. I think that is brilliant. But at the same time, I think there's a lot of risk versus benefit factors. And, there's not loads of research really to be able to justify whether it's right.
Yeah, there's very little research on it, Chloe. Thank you. It's really interesting, Chloe Dymond Tucker there. There is very little research on it. And actually, one of the papers that I've seen was a piece of research with one person, one mother, was created by a midwife who is a they-them non-binary midwife themselves.
It's obvious, isn't it? A mother is going to produce natural milk, and a bloke who's a trans woman isn't producing natural milk. It's a no-brainer. So
farmer-induced male nipple excretion.
This is a statement which you must read from Universities Hospitals Sussex NHS Foundation, who were invited to come on. We stand by the cited evidence supporting this claim.
Wow. And there's no long-term data as what it is going to do for the babies.